I am bringing you my top 5 win now targets that you should be going out and getting before the 2023 season starts. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and comment down below which player that you are targeting if you are in a win now window. Before we get into the video, if you guys don't know, we have partnered with Mason at Fantasy Flock. So if you want to go and support us, go to fantasyflock.com/land. Use our promo code LAND. That's exactly where you can go and unlock our bonus content, our rankings, articles, all the good stuff, not only from us, but from all the other content creators that we also partner up with. And you'll get 30% off at sign up. Make sure you use our promo code LAND. Land, that is in the description below. And let's get straight into it. My first win now target that you guys should be going out and getting is a quarterback, and his name is Mr. Unlimited, which is Russell Wilson. Look, according to the community, he's QB 23. In my rankings, he's QB 20. He finished QB 16 this past year and didn't have the best season. And let me remind you what 2020 really looked like. We thought this team was going to be playoff Super Bowl contenders. Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, Nathaniel Hackett coming over from Green Bay. So many things that was happening, right? And we were really excited for. We thought this team they had a really good defense. And the opening game kind of set the tone for the whole season for the Broncos and this team. And, you know, Tyler Lockett knowing the signal calls and telling the defense and saying, this is still a slant. He's doing this with his hands. You know, like, come on. Like, we have to do the right thing here and change the calls and change the plays. Nathaniel Hackett calling timeouts at the wrong time and not calling the right plays. It was literally really bad all season for Russell Wilson and these Broncos. But let me just remind you of the history before the incoming changes, right? The history of Russell Wilson has always been success. He's always been a top 10 quarterback in Dynasty in the NFL. He's always been that type of guy since 2012 all the way up to this year, outside of these past couple years, right? In his 2012, his rookie season, QB 11, 2013, QB 8, 2014, QB 3, 2015, QB 3. 2016 QB 10, 2017 QB 1. The list goes on, as you can see, including the 2022 season. 2016 he missed injuries with those 3 games, right? He had that hand injury in 2021, and then this past year 2016 just wasn't the year for Russell Wilson. Now the incoming changes, Sean Payton, right? He's coming in saying, you got to clear out your office, my guy, because that's not how we did it in our day, right? So Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, I think he's really setting the tone. He's changing the culture. He's changing the dynamic of this whole team, and that's exactly what Russell Wilson needs, a leader. And you have to remember, this team finished 4-11. They were 32nd in the NFL in all offensive points per game. But we just need to remind ourselves who this team has. Once again, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams with the injury, obviously, a decent offensive line, great defensive players. And yes, some of these players may change. Some of these players may be on the trade block, and we may see that happen in the next couple of weeks. But I still believe in Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and what they can do going into the 2023 season. And I'm really excited for it, right? And we saw a really, really small glimpse of that in the second half of the season for Russell Wilson when Nathaniel Hackett got fired. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was like week 16, week 17, Nathaniel Hackett got fired. And then Russell Wilson kind of saw that old Russell Wilson the last part of the season. And you can kind of see it on the screen here. Russell Wilson, points per game, weeks 1 to 16 versus 17 to 18. Fantasy points significantly higher, yards significantly higher, completion rate higher, touchdowns higher, right? So that's what's really exciting about Russell Wilson right now, and the community doesn't see him that way. As a QB 23, once again, I do believe he could finish into that top 10 quarterback range. And I'm really excited about that. So if you are looking to acquire Russell Wilson, you can get him really low right now, at least in my mind, at the 202. So if you want to trade Russell Wilson for the 202, that is really fair right now, according to the community. Also, I found it really interesting, Russell Wilson for Derrick Henry, an aging running back. If you can get that done, that is also really exciting. And if you are in a dynasty startup, I would also say he's kind of going around this mid 5th to early 7th. There's a broad range right now. So if you're in a dynasty startup, maybe doing a win now team strategy, you can get him on the low right now as your QB2. My second win now target on this list, that you guys, I believe, is going to be a really good steal, especially in dynasty startups, is DeAndre Hopkins. So if you willing to acquire him in a trade or have him in a dynasty startup, I think DeAndre Hopkins is a really, really good option. According to the community, he is wide receiver 38. In my rankings, he is wide receiver 45. So I am a little bit different with the community, but I think there is good value right now for DeAndre Hopkins. He finished wide receiver 47, and reminder, he did miss 9 games last year, okay? And he finished 10th amongst wide receivers in points per game, which I think was phenomenal, especially once again missing 9 games. He was suspended for the first 7 games and then missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken. If you extrapolate what he has done in this past year, he would have finished wide receiver 7, okay? And that is absolutely crazy, knowing what he was doing right off the rip. He came back from the suspension, and he was getting 13, 14, 15 targets in the first game, and we were just saying, well, DeAndre Hopkins is back, and that's exactly what you expect for him to be, as a difference maker, a game changer. And I know you're saying, well, hey, Daniel, or Badake, no one calls me Daniel. Shout out to everyone in the chat there. I was gonna say Badake squad, Badake worldwide. DeAndre Hopkins has been rumored to being traded to all these teams, and whatever team that he's going to be traded to, I do believe he will still be fantasy relevant. The rumors of the teams, the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott, a really great team that he can grow and be either the wide receiver 1 or a really solid a wide receiver 1B. I'm not even gonna say wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 1B. And him, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb will be phenomenal there. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills, DeAndre Hopkins, 1B, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, and Josh Allen. We all know that any of these guys can keep them fantasy relevant. Another team is rumored is my Giants, Daniel Jones and whoever they're going to draft with DeAndre Hopkins. Is that sexy? Probably not, but he automatically becomes the wide receiver 1 there with the New York Giants. There's so many teams, so many speculations. I mean, we can even throw the Kansas City Chiefs in there now that they got rid of Juju Smith. Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Hopkins, come on, guys. That would be a phenomenal. And I know this is if, ands, or buts, but I think right now, according to the community, once again, you can get him on the low. If you're in a dynasty startup or have a dynasty startup, oddly enough, anytime before he gets traded, he's currently going into the 9th round in our dynasty mock drafts. That is probably going to change once he finds a landing spot. That's probably going to change if he does stay with this team, because Kyler Murray is injured. So if he does stay with the Arizona Cardinals, then we might have to readjust. Maybe he's a little bit lower, and he could still potentially be a win now guy, especially with Colt McCoy being in the mix. Okay, so right now, if you're willing to acquire DeAndre Hopkins, you can sell DeAndre Hopkins for the 204 currently. And I think if the wide receivers fall off, if Zay Jones is off the board and maybe Xavier Hutchinson didn't get the draft capital we all expected, or somebody else, or Josh Downs didn't get the draft capital we all expected, DeAndre Hopkins could be a guy you could be targeting for your team. Another guy I think is another trade, I do believe is a really good trade, DeAndre Hopkins for Isaiah Pacheco. And I know a lot of people on the Isaiah Pacheco train, but let's remember he was a 7th round draft pick for the Kansas City Chiefs out of Rutgers. And there are 6 more rounds that the Kansas City Chiefs could draft a running back. And how good is this running back class? Let me say, not good. How good is the depth in this running back class? And anyone can come in and take Isaiah Pacheco's touches and opportunity. And I would trade that now while it's high for somebody that I believe you can get on the low, and then also help you in a win now scenario. So if I were you guys, go and try and get DeAndre Hopkins right now. My third win now target for you guys to go out and trying to acquire is Amari Cooper. I love Amari Cooper and everything that he's done, and let me tell you why. According to the community, he's wide receiver 36. In my rankings, he is 38. And then once again, if you're in a dynasty startup and from between now or the NFL draft, some way, some reason, he's going in the mid to late 7th right now in a dynasty startup, which is very interesting. Finished as wide receiver 10 this past year, and that was playing with Jacoby Myers for the first 12 games of the season, and then Deshaun Watson for the last 6 of the season. And I know, hey, you're probably saying, well, Jacoby Myers is not the guy. And Deshaun Watson didn't look good in the second half of the season. You guys have to remember that Deshaun Watson didn't play for a whole season. He didn't have any chemistry with any of these guys. He couldn't practice for the first 12 weeks or 11 weeks, with this team until he was reinstated. And that's exactly what happened. And we saw that reflection on the field. But let me remind you what I keep saying DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson has done and who he's made fantasy relevant in the past. In 2018, he had DeAndre Hopkins as wide receiver 1. In 2019, he has DeAndre Hopkins as wide receiver 5. In 2020, when he no longer had DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller was a wide receiver 8 before that injury from weeks 1 to 12 in 2020. He's always had a top 10 wide receiver, no matter who it was with, DeAndre Hopkins or Will Fuller. We even saw a little bit of Brandon Cooks being in the top 20 as well. So another year in his belt, coming off of not being in the league for a year, another year under his belt, having chemistry with Amari Cooper in the second half of the season. I think there's no doubt in my mind we can see Amari Cooper skyrocketing in drafts and in fantasy, right, as a whole, once we see Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson coming together. So I really do believe this is a buy low opportunity for Amari Cooper. And let me also remind you that Amari Cooper, no matter which quarterback he was playing with, he was also very successful. Derek Carr, his highest finish was wide receiver 13. Dak Prescott, wide receiver 10. Jacoby Brissett, as we just saw, wide receiver 10. And with Deshaun Watson, I can truly believe, and I know there's more beliefs, but I truly believe he can make Amari Cooper a top 10 wide receiver at the end of 2023 season. There's no doubt in my mind Amari Cooper can be there. So if you can get him now on the low, if you are in a win now window, why not go and try and acquire him right now? So according to the community, once again, wide receiver 38, and you can go get him according to Keep Trade Cut. You can get Amari Cooper if you send away Derrick Henry. I'm really happy to do that. And there's a very small list of Amari Cooper and his price, because I do believe he's rising as close as we get into the season. We see him go higher and higher and higher once we get closer to the draft as well. Amari Cooper for the 201 is also an option. It's not an option I would personally do, because if Zay Jones is there, if Josh Downs is there, I would really, really prefer them over Amari Cooper. And one thing before I go to my next player, we had to remember that the Browns really committed $250 million guaranteed or something like that to Deshaun Watson. Okay, this team doesn't have any cap to play around with. This team doesn't even have the first round picks for the next couple of years. So they're either going to be drafting these second round players or getting guys in free agency that's going to come and contribute in some way, somehow. Amari Cooper comes in on a really good deal, very minimal deal. He is clearly the wide receiver 1 there with Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, and David Bell. And I do assume that they're going to bring in somebody else coming in and hopefully helping him, whether that is a Josh Downs, whether that is Xavier Hutchinson, a Parker Washington, whoever that case may be. If they do come in, Amari Cooper is still number 1. And if they do come in, they open up the doors for Amari Cooper to see less of either double team or less, coverage when they have to look at everyone else. So if I were you guys, I would be trying to get Amari Cooper on the low right now. My next win now target you guys should be going to acquire on the low right now, in my personal opinion, is Tyler Lockett, which I really am really excited about this one. According to Keep Trade Cut, he is wide receiver 50. According to my rankings, he is wide receiver 52. This past year, he finished as wide receiver 13. And if, once again, you're doing a dynasty startup in any time before the NFL drafts, he is going right now in the 11th round, according to our last mock draft. It's crazy, right? Tyler Lockett, every single year we fade him, and then he always returns value, right? He's always been one of the consistent low-key guys, a good low-end wide receiver to a good solid flex that you probably drafted as your wide receiver 3 on your team, whether that was with Russell Wilson or Geno Smith, and he's always returned the favor for you. So if I were you, Tyler Lockett is a phenomenal guy. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, Geno Smith, can he do it again? I think he can. I really do believe he can. And we saw a really phenomenal year for Geno Smith coming out of this past year, right? Played all 17 games, threw over 30 touchdowns, and we saw him take a really good step, and he gets the bag too. So that means this team truly is going to invest in him. He got a 3-year contract, which is phenomenal. I know there's a lot of rumors saying that, well, the Seahawks could potentially get a quarterback in that first round. It's true. They could get a quarterback in that first round, but is it going to be worse? if they do get Anthony Richardson, is it going to be worse? Is it really going to be worse if they get Will Levis? In my personal opinion, no, for both of those guys. I know the community sees Anthony Richardson significantly higher than Will Levis, but I am a Will Levis believer, and I do believe he can make some of these guys fantasy relevant. And if they do come in, they invested in their guy in Charlie Cross. They invested in the guy in Kenneth Walker. They re-signed DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett is coming into of age. He's 30 years old right now, which is fair. This is why he's a win now target. But the team around him, Tyler Lockett, there's so much opportunity for him to be that guy and help and contribute for everyone. I mean, let's remember in 2022, 117 targets. In 2021, 107 targets. In 2020, 132 targets. He's always been the guy getting targets. He's always been the guy that's been there, that has been consistent, that has always had a top 15 finish, I would say, whether with Russell Wilson, now with Geno Smith. And his price is really, really low right now. Okay, Tyler Lockett for the 210, I would do that in a heartbeat. There are some other trades that you can personally do according to the community. Tyler Lockett and a Wan'Dale Robinson. If you don't believe in a Wan'Dale Robinson, Tyler Lockett and a Juju Smith, who just signed with the New England Patriots. And Tyler Lockett maybe for a mid 2024 second. I would personally still keep the 2024 mid second. But if you are in the win now window and do believe you can win that chip, those are all the guys I am be okay, to trade away to acquire Tyler Lockett if I need that edge going into the next season. So once again, get Tyler Lockett on the low right now if you can. My last win now target, if you are in need of a running back, his name is Aaron Jones for the Green Bay Packers. According to the community, he is running back 29, and he is my running back 27. So we're a little bit close there, according to the community. This past year, he did finish as RB9, and he was 12th in fantasy points per game amongst running backs. Look, this is a perfect opportunity to buy some of these guys, whether it's Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, in whatever format, whether win now or a futuristic team. I would say not futuristic for Aaron Jones, but hear me out here. Okay, 28 years old, you're probably in need of a running back, especially with the running back room kind of being abysmal, and we don't know who is going to be invested in. What we do know is that Aaron Jones did restructure his contract to stay with the Green Bay Packers. Now that Aaron Rodgers is quote unquote going to leave, which he said, now we're just waiting for the Jets and the Packers to finalize compensation on Aaron Rodgers. Once he is gone, Jordan Love is in the mix. If you guys have been watching our channel and our live streams, we are Jordan Love believers, and we do believe he is going to be a successful quarterback, at least somewhat of a successful quarterback. And obviously we're banking on that a lot. But we've seen the history there with Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, now Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Now, what does that mean for Aaron Jones? I do believe they're going to result in the run game a lot, right? Jordan Love may not be throwing these crazy passes that, he wants to throw, and what's going to happen is that they're going to need to result in the run game with Aaron Jones. Yes, AJ Dillon is there, but in my opinion, and I know the fantasy community is a little bit mixed about this, AJ Dillon hasn't lived up to his potential. We thought he was going to take the targets and the opportunities away from Aaron Jones, but we haven't truly seen the transition because Aaron Jones has always still been the guy. So I'm not really worried about AJ Dillon. If anything, I'm more excited that Aaron Jones is going to continue to get more uptick in production, especially on the ground and in the air. Now, have we seen any production with Aaron Jones and Jordan Love? Very minuscule. It's not even, to be honest, worth mentioning, because at times it was either really bad or it was just in for a very couple periods because Aaron Rodgers was injured. He needed to go check on his arm or his finger or something like that. Very minuscule sample size of Aaron Jones and Jordan Love together. So we need to take that with a grain of salt as well. But we all know that this team really loves Aaron Jones and how much they're going to be investing in him. And I think there's a good price right now for Aaron Jones. Once again, if you're in a dynasty startup somewhere in between now and the NFL draft, he is currently going in the 10th round purely based on this running back market. And he's currently running back 29, like I said earlier, for this community. So if you are in the market and you are in a win now scenario, Aaron Jones right now is going really cheap in my personal opinion. Aaron Jones for Tyler Algier. I know there's a lot of Tyler Algier believers out there, if I were you, what I would be doing is selling Tyler Algier and cashing in. But if you are in a win now window, Aaron Jones for Tyler Algier, I do believe is a perfect price. Especially, we do believe the Falcons are going to be investing in another running back coming either in free agency or in the NFL draft. Now, Aaron Jones or for the 206. Now, there's a lot of good running backs in this class, and if some of these guys that you really like or didn't get the draft capital that you wanted, maybe Aaron Jones is a guy, once again, if you are in a win now window, you can go out and get, whether it's a 206, I said 204, I said 206, excuse me. For the 206, you can go out and transfer or trade Aaron Jones for that, which is a very, very good price if you are in need of a running back and once again are in the win now window. So once again, guys, Aaron Jones, Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, and Russell Wilson. All of these guys I'm targeting if I am a win now team, if I have an opportunity to go get that ship and make the fantasy playoffs, and I need this edge. Some of these guys, all of these guys, excuse me, I am going out and targeting for my team. Once again, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if I'm shit. Tell me if you like my takes, whatever the case may be. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh,
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.